Alrighty, I'm gonna have to turn you up a bit then because you're extremely low. Alrighty, try that. Say something else. Alrighty, that should be good. That should be good. Audio output capture 2. No, that doesn't. Okay. Alrighty. We are just about ready. Can I have a sound check, please, Cornet? Just to make sure that my audio. Okay, how's that? Try that. Okay, give me a second. Looking at audio input, which is microphone, audio output. That's why my update changed all of my settings. All right, let's try that. Is that better?
Let's have a look, shall we? Or actually have a listen. Yeah, that's low sound, but at least the audio is in the channel. So people will have to crank up the sound quite a bit.
Alrighty.
Yeah, both of you are pretty soft, so.
Okay, I will crank up the volumes a little bit. Is that a bit better? You two will also have to talk so that you can hear the difference.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Yeah,
your
it's
sound is
definitely
better.
Okay, and is yours?
Sure, sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
I can...
Apologies for the delay. Apologies for the delay. Work finished late, and so that means that I was a little bit late, but we're here now, and I am going to ask Cornet and Carl to kick us off with week 36 update, critical hit, new hitbox design for animals. And this is introducing our new critical hit systems, target range mission, and 2 new orbital workshop crossbows.
Ooh.
That sounds really good.
Yep.
Alrighty. If you could take us through that first bit, please, Cornet and Carl,
Sure.
and that would be absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, so earlier in earlier patch notes, they were already, I believe, 2 weeks ago, 1 week, 2 weeks ago, they were already talking about the new hit system. And hey, it arrived in the game! Yay! This week
Seems pretty
we have.
quick. Yeah.
Sorry.
I say it seems pretty quick, but we'll see what it's how it's been implemented.
So this week we have revamped our critical hit systems to provide a more dynamic and authentic combat experience that requires you to refine your precision and timing. The new hit area system is more realistic, dramatically reducing the damage delivered on enemies' protected and armored body parts, less critical areas, while also dealing more damage on their weak points, critical areas. To help you become adept with this system, a new mission will place you in a target practice course. This will unlock unique blueprints to craft your own targets also, if you want to spend more time becoming a marksman with your weapon of choice. To wrap up an update of all things accuracy, 2 new crossbows have been introduced to the Orbital Workshop with a new set of bolts with both speed and power options. So yeah, last week, 2 weeks ago, when was it? We already quickly talked about this new critical hit system. So it's no longer the case when you shoot a wolf in the tail, it insta dies.
Well, it does sound like they've just tweaked the damage numbers.
Well, different hitboxes on different body parts.
True. But if you're still going to use, a top tier bow with a top tier arrow with a sneak bonus and hit something in the paw, it might still kill it one shot. It really just depends on how the numbers have been tweaked.
Depends on how they have been tweaked indeed, but from what I read, it's looking pretty nice.
Well, I mean, it sounds good. The only thing that I definitely like is that, I mean, crossbows, we've crafted them since the beginning, since beta, and, I've never found them to be too impressive. Their trajectory was pretty flat, so definitely for those that struggle with certain aim or the drop-off of certain bows, would find that a little bit better.
But the
But it
reload is
does
always slow.
exactly true. But I mean, yet again, it's the same thing in real life. Crossbows are a trade-off for reload speed versus power technically.
Yeah.
So it should do more damage, quite a decent amount, than the bow.
So
Um,
there are
but
two new crossbows. One is a
yeah,
faster reload, less damage, and one is a slower reload but more damage.
exactly. So that's definitely going to be interesting, and it's also from the workshop. So theoretically, if it's a top tier damage crossbow, then it might out damage the Larkwell bow, and by how much would determine if it's going to be worth it or not. Because if you can get the one shot, one kills, on different animals, it would be nice. I'm looking forward to the dummies as well, though, because I would definitely like to get better damage numbers from like distances, and also the calculations based upon what is the actual multipliers per critical zone. Is there like multiple critical zones? Like
Yes,
it's
there
just
will be. Like
exactly
Endless will hardly do any damage at all.
yeah, of course,
While
but
Headshot is going to do extra damage.
not true, but that's just the headshot, right? So what I'm
Yeah.
referring to is just below the neck or behind the heart and lung. Or is there then, like for example, the eyeball? Is that more critical damage than
I
just the
don't know
head?
how far they tweaked it. We'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
And by the
Yeah.
way, looking at the crossbows, where the Larkwall has a plus 125 projectile damage, the new
Mm-hmm.
crossbows both have plus 25. But the heavy one has an additional 10% critical damage and an additional 15% damage with both crossbows. So you get basically to plus 40%. So Larkwall will still outperform them.
Well, that's the thing that doesn't make it even worthwhile
Uh,
to use. It's
don't forget the Larkwall is a compound bow. It's not a standard bow.
yeah, true, but that's where the trade-off comes. Now, this was their opportunity, in my opinion, that they've squandered, in my opinion, because the crossbows are unused completely. It's basically like the talent point of throwing your fire thwacker. It's like nobody ever uses it because it's just a pointless item. So I'll probably still try and get one or craft the
Don't
crossbow.
forget, we are talking about the projectile damage. The
True.
projectiles themselves do more damage.
Yeah, of course, but if you're talking about maybe a 10% damage buff versus a 125% damage bonus buff, there's differences. But yet again, this is where the testing will take place,
Yeah.
and them
We'll definitely gonna
introducing
test
two.
it today.
The only thing is that them introducing two crossbows, to me, tells me that they tried to do something to bring them back to life. Because realistically, I don't think anyone uses it.
Yeah, again, if you want to go for long range shots, it's easier guessing the drop off because it has less drop off. But
Mm, yeah, but yet again, the Larkwell is pretty flight path, so
true, true.
it's not that big
Well,
of a deal.
this is for like they are more powerful than a normal bow, so people who can't kill stuff quick enough with a longbow might want to craft a crossbow.
Yeah, the only thing here is that I just
Uh,
think
yeah,
they're just due to the damage. It needs to be to the point where the damage needs to sort of play out evenly, in the sense that, or maybe even slightly less because of the reload being longer on the crossbow. But if a normal arrow from a longbow, stone arrow for example, hits for 100, the crossbow should have been hitting, the normal tier 1, crafted one, crossbow should have been hitting for 300. Because by the time you could have shot 3 arrows of the longbow, like it shouldn't be an exact calculation, maybe like 250 or 200 should have been the calculation. Because then it's like, you shoot, if you miss, pretty much like you do with a real crossbow, unless you've got some strange automatic crossbow, that it's you've missed. So
You know,
you've
the bolts always did more damage than the normal arrows.
yeah.
So your damage number was slightly higher. For me, the biggest issue with the crossbow was always the material cost for the
mm,
bolts.
yeah. Well, we'll take a look yet
Hey,
again.
Mike, welcome.
If the crossbow does more damage, at least the top tier damaging one, which is the one I would be interested in, then it might be something that I would look into actually.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to have a look during today's gameplay. Because I reckon there will also be crossbows provided for us to actually test out the things.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Echo's back.
Yeah.
I am indeed, yes. Thank you very much. And hi, Mike. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, that's going to be interesting testing. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to push it, but let's move swiftly on, seeing as
Yep.
it's my fault we're late. So let's get going.
Alrighty.
The hit feedback system is what we're looking at
You might
now.
want to show the picture below it as well. It's
Oh,
actually explaining a bit about this hit feedback system.
okay. Okay, I'm not. Oh, yeah, I will be able to get that just in. Okay. Okay, we have revamped the critical hit and hit areas system in Icarus to provide more accurate and detailed combat. This will make hitting critical shots trickier, but far more rewarding. Our game designers have been busy refining where these hit zones are and developing a tiered system for hit zones that provide different levels of impact. Altogether, it makes it more imperative you consider your aim and accuracy when picking your target.
I mean, I was always going for the headshots anyway.
I
Yeah.
automatically always go for the headshots.
Yeah. But it will become more important to actually aim for the head. Because as you can
Yes.
see in this picture here, you will do extra damage on the head. Where if you hit the leg, well, it's not going to do that much damage.
That's true. And we have seen
Yeah, it
multiple
will be
times where
way more
y-
important. Like, where are you aiming? Not just blindly shoot something at a deer. No, try to kill it in one shot with a shot in the head.
yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
the new hit zones, we have 5 of them. Extra weak headshots, critical hit damage. With weak, partial critical hit damage. With hardened, with damage reduced, extra hardened, damage greatly reduced, and the no damage. I would reckon like the hoof, maybe the tail, antlers on the deer. Because no damage is like 0 damage. Kinda makes sense, right? If you in real life shoot a deer in the antler, he's gonna be like, yeah, so my antler is a bit bigger now, but I'm not gonna drop that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. Good. Well, it sounds really interesting. I'm quite keen to get down to testing that. I mean, the thing is,
What do you think?
I automatically aim for the head anyway. Although, as you try and shoot from a further distance, it has been known for the arrow to hit the paw or the tail or the ear.
I do think
So
that shooting the legs would have been nice if they actually had like a maiming or crippling debuff on bears or on wolves or on deer. Because I mean, yet again, it might have been also a reason to tactically also
yes,
shoot for certain limbs.
yes, yes. Cool. Okay. Well, as you can see from the picture, there are these different ones down the bottom. So yeah, gonna have to take more care and pay more attention when you're aiming at your target now. Okay. Each zone, as seen and mentioned above, will have a unique associated icon displayed at impact to show where your attack landed. This also means damage will scale, and blows landed to tougher parts of the foe will be dramatically less effective and put you in a compromising position. This also opens up the possibility of more non-Earth-like creatures in future with their own unique anatomy. Okay, that sounds interesting.
Well, they are going to introduce new planets and creatures on their expansion, so obviously we know a bear has a head, and shooting it in the head is going to hurt. So obviously, that's going to change depending on the creature that you're shooting at.
Yeah. Hi, Rifite. Good to have you. Welcome. We've lost Cornet for a minute or two, so we will just continue, I think.
Yep.
And as we can see here in this image just underneath, we do have training dummies by the look of it. So, which will be relative to the new mission that we're getting, which is potshot training. So, to practice the new critical hit and hit areas system, we're giving you a target practice course on Olympus. Cool. Players will get a weapon on arrival or can bring their own from the orbital workshop to use on various test dummies. Completion of the mission at a high enough score will unlock the blueprints to craft the wooden bear target dummy and the bullseye target, complete with the new hit zone features for practice on your outpost or in missions. Your mission briefing is as follows. Potshot training. It's from UDA. It's in the forest biome. And the background says, the operator has set up a testing area for contractors to train and hone their skills. The mission will be to complete the test with a passing score. And the terms are a flat fee, a selection of weapons will be provided for testing purposes only. So in other words, you'll get given a bunch of weapons, but you can't keep them.
Sounds fair.
Alrighty. So that's going to be kind of interesting, I think. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, based upon the picture, it seems like you're going to be stationed at a type of targeting table, so you'll probably not be able to cross a certain threshold. And then, it seems like there's a pop-up on the right or a screen of some sort, which looks pretty interesting in the screenshot, that is. But just hit the targets, rack up a score. I'm guessing the further the targets are out, the more points you would get for it. And I'm actually just wondering if it would actually deduct points if you actually miss a shot entirely. But we'll see once we get one aside. So.
Yeah. Okie dokie. And immediately after that, we're getting 2 brand new crossbows. Now, I have to be honest, I'm a bow and arrow person, but I haven't I was saying this to Cornet yesterday, I haven't used a crossbow since probably beta weekend 2 or 3.
We were talking about it earlier, and for me, when I saw them adding 2 new crossbows, I was hoping that they were going to rebalance the crossbows to bring up their power to what they're intended to be, which is slower reloading, harder punching weapons. However, we shall see if that is the case or not.
We certainly shall. Cornet is back online. I think he's probably commenting on his phone because he's saying that he needs a reboot.
Yeah.
So
that's.
So it's yes, and he's absolutely right. It is a good thing that Carl is with us today. Okay, so we're adding not one, but two new crossbows to the workshop to coincide with the theme of this update. Icarus have made available the rapid and heavy crossbow variants in the orbital workshop. The rapid, as the name suggests, is built to send bolts downrange at an unmatched pace. The heavy sacrifices speed for power, sporting a much heavier draw weight that deals a significant amount of increased damage. The two crossbows with two different styles suit different situations on Icarus. Choose one, take both. The choice is yours. An additional piece of hardware available from the workshop is now the Larkwell Bolt Set, a 25 pack of deadly bolts with unmatched damage output should make for a powerful combination with your new weapon of choice. And given the image underneath, they do look pretty hot.
Yeah, I think that's, I would say the one that's being displayed at the bottom is going to be the faster reloading one, possibly, because it looks like it could contain a chamber to shoot. Because the arrow, you can see the bowstring is mounted in the unit or in the muzzle, but there are arrows
Yes.
on top of it. So it's probably like a bolt feed system from top down, like the old you know early war rifles, where it'll load bolts top down and maybe be able to shoot three or four before needing to reload. But we'll see as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. Hi, Rodnob. I did see you jump in there. I wasn't being rude, but was just finishing that little bit. Welcome. Welcome back. It's good to have you. And yes, we are finding out about this week's update. Following that, we have dedicated servers work that has been going on. And as part of the ongoing work with data decentralization, including the dedicated server, we have been tackling game flow issues such as how players connect to the game, what happens if players are offline when a mission completes, and what happens to characters who have joined a prospect when the server is offline. We believe, design wise, we have tackled the major considerations and are implementing the new character flow as we speak. We'll reveal specifics closer to release, as when we introduce dedicated servers, it will change how multiplayer sessions function. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting because I wasn't really expecting anything to change unless they really intend to prevent people gaining rewards for only briefly joining certain missions,
Yes.
and then going topside, which in all honesty should be relatively fair, in my opinion.
hmm
But yeah, exactly as they've mentioned, there are no specifics yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but it sounds really intriguing. I will say they have my interest.
Indeed. There is a nice image of the crafted targets, though, so it does seem
Yes,
pretty nice.
I was just gonna move on to that. That's looking pretty cool. And as you can see, it already has what looks to be a half a dozen crossbow bolts already in it. So somebody's been busy.
Yes, and it does seem like it's only the five zones, as they mentioned, which is red, blue, green, brown, and I'm assuming the other one is just no damage.
hmm
So it would be nice to do some testing in regards to how the multiplier scales with those zones.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. Alrighty. Now moving on, we have the change log. And as always, our changelog includes some future content updates. These aren't available in this week's update, but are things our devs are working on for future updates and chapters. These don't have confirmed dates, haven't been tested or balanced yet, and may even be taken back to the drawing board. But we thought you might enjoy seeing behind the scenes. I always enjoy seeing behind the scenes.
Yeah, it allows you to look forward to some new, like we had the previous weeks. I was looking forward to this change because your shots then matter and your placements matter. So I really hope
Yes.
they did a good job with the damage scaling, because if you have a good long-ranged headshot right into the eyeball of a bear being rewarded with an instant kill versus just ticking him off and having him club you in the face after he's done running around the river, yeah, I think that adds an additional sense of reward. So good moments. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Okie dokie. So let's start going through it. We'll have a quick look at some of this new content. Transition to new area-based critical hit system. Added target dummy deployable. Critical hit zones will now be cleaner and clearer. And we can now add armored, partial, critical, and no damage zones very easily. Okay, well, that's been done, I think.
Yep. Yep. So.
Committing missed game state file, which fixes floating damage numbers and enables the new visual aspect of critical hit zones. I would say that was pretty important, actually.
Well, I know that sometimes the numbers seem a little bit odd, but I do think they might play around with coloration on the damage numbers in order to indicate red or deep red being a super effective critical hit, perhaps. And we'll have
Yes.
to see, because they say obviously a new visual aspect of critical hit zones. So depending on how the hit has landed, you might see a different visual representation of the number.
Yes, that makes total sense. The other thing is that I have kind of noticed over the past couple of weeks that there has been like lag between actually hitting the target. See, like say for example, you get a kill cam, you hit the target, you get the kill cam, you hit the target, you come out of the kill cam, and you don't actually see the numbers till you're just about to skin it. So
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's there's a bit of lag between you actually doing the damage and seeing the numbers.
I
Um,
haven't, I haven't noticed that myself, but I know that it's always not possible to see the numbers. So I'm hoping that some sort of, tracking is had, because there's obviously going to be tracking built into the mission, because we're going to have to build up points. However, we'll have to see. Maybe they've made it last longer. That maybe be partially a fix for their bug, but we'll test this as part of the plant side testing.
yeah, I'm quite sure we'll find out soon enough. Okay, they've added the helper function to use when appending new critical hit areas in Blueprint child classes. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I can't understand what they're trying to point out with that one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. They've got DEP target dummy mesh materials and textures, followed by dummy target mission, adding the base flow for the target dummy and bullseye target mission. Intent is a sort of course involving the targets with a score to achieve based on difficulty. Various weapons will be provided, and the course will be replayable as a sort of mini game. All first pass quest BPs added and relevant data tables added for the quest.
Yep, that's just the
Um,
new mission. That's basically just the new mission. So.
yep, that's it in a nutshell. And then we can add to that. Let's see, I'm just kind of scanning forward a little bit. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, where they've added the wooden bear and bullseye target dummies. They've added recipes and character flag for the target dummies and the bullseye. They've added the critical hit zones for worm-type creatures. Now that's interesting.
Well, we do get the cave worms, either the big ones or the small ones, so they're going to have, designed critical zones for each and every animal, unless this is an indicator that it's not for each and every animal yet.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes back to the mission, the new mission, they've added the target range controller, target trigger and scoreboard, setting up basic logic in mission for quick testing. All right. And there has also been base implementation of target range system, includes both a timer and scoring.
Ooh, timer. That means you're going to be against the clock which does make sense as well, because usually for competitive shooting you have a timer which is going to affect your score. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it also gives you something to work towards, like, oh, let's see if I can
Oh,
beat
yeah.
my last
Oh,
score.
yeah.
And the other thing is that when you consider the fact that, all of your targets move, so, like you've got an antelope on the right, you've got a zebra on the left, and you have to kill one and then quickly move to the other before it runs away. Yeah, it makes it more interesting, I think.
Yeah. I think they can also obviously even expand this at some point for like hunting missions planetside as part of like a big game hunter where you would hunt down elephants and things as such, and then you would need to reach a certain score in order to pass the mission, or to be able to yield certain trophy objects, perhaps. Like if it was a perfect heart shot or something similar from more than 150 meters away, there would be some uniqueness to it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
There should be at least a few ribbons, perhaps, related to that, but that probably hasn't been implemented yet. So,
Alrighty. So, next up, they have removed the semicolon, which was preventing a property from being marked as blueprint assignable and failing build validation. Okay, thanks very
pretty
much.
much just code fixing, yeah.
Yep, they had a problem, they fixed it, we like it. They fixed inventory container access crash that would occur when retrieving item stats. Okay, fair enough. Again, they had a problem. They fixed it. We like it. Progress on the target range system, so targets and triggers register on a controller and scoreboards register controllers. Okay.
Part of the mission, so it's just the items that added.
Yep. Fixing up issues, so scores, time, and triggers can be called by client to enact changes on the server.
I think that's pretty much just fixing or fine-tuning the actual measurements in the scoring, so
yeah.
Part of the mission.
Yeah. Okie-dokie. And that is followed by the target range and scores now replicate.
That statement is questionable, so moving on, I think.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. They've added reload components to cache high scores for the target range. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Adding reload components.
I think that
to high
basically
score from target range.
well, where that takes me is that they've added the component to be able to reload the mission and redo the mission and have the mission welcome back and have the mission keep a hold of the last high score so that you can see whether or not you can beat it.
Got it. Makes sense.
That's what my brain tells me. Maybe.
No, that makes sense. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry for that. I just grabbed myself another headset now. And
Alrighty.
I hope this will work better.
At least we can hear you, but there was a bit of momentary feedback, so I'm not sure if it's also on a type of separate unit, but so far so good.
Yeah, I was watching on the phone, so at least I had sound, and I just stopped the phone basically. So there should be no feedback anymore.
No, it's fine.
There's no feedback. Unfortunately, though, you kind of sound as bad as Carl does right now. But at
I'm
least
also
we can
using
hear
the
you, and
microphone of the webcam.
we can hear you, and you can take part. And right now, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so welcome back. It's good to have you
Thank
back.
you.
They have created high score core scoreboard.
That's evil,
So
because that means that people will be competitive, which is good because...
I reckon it is within the mission, like within the...
so
within your own session.
Got it.
Or at least I hope. But yeah, I think so.
Okay, the target range targets change their texture when hit and revert to the normal textures when reset.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, a target isn't going to stay, exactly the same every single time you hit it because it's going to take damage.
It might feel a little bit awkward when you pull out the bolts or arrows that it would almost revert back to a pristine state. So technically, I would have been more in favor of just gradually having the target wear down like a durability, and having to either repair it. But
I don't think it'll reset that quickly, to be honest.
Well, we'll see.
True.
Yeah. Okay, exposing functions. So targets know when a round is active. This means they can move around, shift their scoring zones, and play animations. That's interesting. So
Yeah,
they're
they're
not
not
just
gonna
going
be
to be
static
static targets, they're actually going to move.
Yeah, and further on in the bullet points, you'll see more about it. They will be moving.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Okay.
That is nice, yeah.
Exposing reset functions.
So targets
To
can return to the default state when the round completes. Yeah, it took me a couple of tries to what are they saying here?
Yeah, wait a minute. Well, 1 minute we're talking about targets, now we're talking about tarts.
Somebody was hungry.
All right. Alrighty, removing a semicolon, which was causing an issue with build validation as it was preventing up property definition from being read.
No, definition. Which is very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, definition.
Yeah, definition.
Yeah, I worry about being able to read it right and they can't spell it.
Pretty much.
If you make a mistake in reading it, you just blame their spelling.
Yeah. Adding a world widget for range scoreboard. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Updating players' names to use character names on range scoreboard.
Yeah, instead of the Steam ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which does tell me that they are able to compare scores globally rather than only in the session.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they know the Steam ID, of course, because you have one player, you have multiple characters. But
yeah,
they're
of
all
course.
tied to one player, and the whole join a session system is based on your Steam friend list.
Yeah, but if they introduce the word leaderboard, which I believe was the word they technically used upper in one of the bulletins, that defines not per session but a global one. But we'll see.
They set a high scoreboard.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty. Adding various movements to bear targets, making them harder to hit.
Good, don't make it too easy.
No. Fixing error in last commit, where player names were not being stored correctly in the target range controller. Players will now be able to see their names and scores on the scoreboard. Nice.
Yeah, again, Aurora, I think, and I kind of hope it will be within this drop, within the session, within the mission.
Yeah.
The next one is more interesting. Added strong points on creature horns and tusks for critical hit areas. Means when hitting a creature in the horn or in the tusk, player will deal less damage. More realistic.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that definitely means that gone are the days where you get a kill cam, and you actually hit the tip of a deer's antler and get a kill
Exactly.
cam.
Exactly. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, more challenging. It means that the hunter is definitely going to have to be more careful.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go on.
She says, pointing at herself.
Yeah. Well, see, there is a lot more about this whole new mission and system and stuff. Like adding in, so added the hit audio system, different type of hit, different audio. Adding in base layout for the course, first passes for this and that. Added the dummies. Next one is more interesting. Added Icarus crossbow A and B variants to the workshop. A is the faster paced weapon, while the B variant is slower and hits harder. Okay, was already covered above, I think, in the time where I hit no sound.
Correct.
Let's see what more. Update icons. Again, update on hit audio system. Changing bear targets. Yeah, run across bear targets can now be given a distance to run rather than use a static value, so yeah, moving targets. This is good. Swapped out a few of the standard bear dummies for the moving ones, so maybe some static, some moving. Editing, scoring, scaling per prospect difficulty. So on hard mode you get higher score, but it will be harder to hit. I don't know, we'll have to see. So added different scoring based on damage dealt to targets will multiply to critical zones where the damage was dealt. Makes sense. The better you aim, the higher score you get. Fixing Icarus crossbow not being able to reload properly. Oh, that's an important one. As the reload montage is blending out too quickly. I'm glad I fixed that. Otherwise, you can only fire one shot with it, and then it's basically over for that crossbow.
Yeah.
Very good.
That might be the same bug that we occasionally encounter on bows, where you can't really draw back anymore, or you don't see it visually drawing back. So, wondering if it's the same problem.
It might be actually. Good one.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
It's a tad hard to test, unfortunately. I mean, if you encounter it, you know it's not fixed. If you don't encounter it, maybe they fix it. Maybe you don't run into that bug right now. Yeah. Anyway, adding logic to display the new critical damage icons. Always good. More target stuff. Updating the first range quest flow to include simplified quest steps and a timer.
Yep.
I just talked about above as well, I reckon. All weapons provided in the quest are now tagged as quest items and are replenished every 30 seconds. So you basically just take a new one.
I'm wondering if there would be any type of performance like hit if it's like resupplying. Because I mean, yet again, bolts will be one factor, and especially if somebody goes in and takes all the bolts, for example, a certain person.
Yeah, 30 seconds later, they respawn, and the next person can take bolts.
Yeah, sounds fair.
Yep.
Let's see more about this score mission, scoreboard, etc.
Dummy.
Yeah, look at the next one, which is like not related to this, is the new stat for rendering vapor condenser in nodes. Added stat to target range missions, so it's kinda. Did they disable the vapor condensers in this mission? I don't know. I mean, not planning on doing it anyway, not in this mission, so hey.
Yep.
Let's see. Fix a collision on the berry bush meshes. I mean, I thought you could shoot through the bushes already, but I mean, I quite regularly shoot through bushes, so I know you can.
I haven't tried shooting through a berry bush though.
True. We can try.
Yeah.
You stand on one side of the berry bush, I stand on the other side, and I'll shoot you.
And I'll
No
shoot
problem.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And Echo will be standing there and laughing until we
Yes.
both turn to her.
See if you can fire a fire arrow at a pod, a shuttle pod, through a berry bush.
Now that actually being said, that gave me another idea. If you actually were in deep brush, like you would use a larger caliber, like a brush gun, which is like a 40 odd 70 or something similar, in order to punch through small brush without, to be able to hit the air, through it. So technically, if you shot a crossbow and it was able to penetrate through bushes and small things like that, that would be an interesting change versus a normal bow, which would be either stuck on a small tree or something similar.
Well, the arrows get stuck on small trees, not on bushes.
No, true. But I'm referring to if there was going to be a difference. But let's carry on.
Here you see fix the target range using incorrect data to show player scores. Now uses the character name instead of the internal Steam ID.
Yep, same thing as previously covered.
I'm updating quest text so it makes more sense. Well, always good if you can actually make out what I mean. Added Larkwall standard bolt item to Meta Workshop.
Yep, that's the new pack of 25 bolts they mentioned.
They're indeed more powerful than any other bolts there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already checked.
They updated the name and text for the 2 new crossbows by Icarus. Good.
Let's see, anything not related to this new mission and stuff?
Doesn't seem like it.
Not in this screen.
No, I think
There's one thing interesting though, is that the moving bullseye targets temporarily shift them out of the foliage until we get a cull volume working. So I'm just wondering if they've sort of got the targets behind bushes and shrubs, and you have to wait to shoot them as they come out behind cover, kind of thing. So.
Okay. This is something we can check once we're in that mission.
Yep.
So yeah. I think like the new stuff we is basically all covered by. They have a new hit system and a new mission.
Yeah, pretty much.
Far
shot, bear, updated the targeting range sound. Yeah. Oh, so there's a start sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pot shot mission, dummies, target range. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on to what they fixed.
Recommit building upgrades tool A wood.
A wood, they say, yes.
Okay. Building upgrade tool is the building upgrade hammer. No idea what they mean with recommit a wood part.
Yes.
Yesterday yesterday I didn't even use the building replace hammer. I did use it last Friday though, and it was working at that point. So. Adjustment to reverb sent on geysers to accommodate for being inside built structures nearby. Volume and reverb drops in volume so it's not too loud. Also made similar adjustments to Wolfpack. So basically you're inside the structure, it dampens the outside sounds. Makes sense. And yeah, we have noticed they were working quite a bit on the audio. Especially with the Thursday characters, it makes you way more on edge. You're like, what am I hearing? And then you realize you hear the echo of your own cutting down a tree, for example.
Yeah, I recall that. That was a bit odd. But it was interesting. Playing around with the sound effects. Sounds is, a very important game to be a very important factor for game immersion. So the more
absolutely.
The better it'll get.
Absolutely. Let's see, fix extractors and drills generated login but aren't considered active after reload restart. Ensure that any generated traits are restarted when biofuel drills are reloaded. This means that biofuel drills continue to consume fuel correctly after save load.
Yep.
They have put this bullet point or similar multiple times in the patch notes already.
Yeah.
Apparently not always when you reloaded your game, the drills continued working.
It wouldn't be a bug. It was straightforward to fix it. So
let's hope it's properly fixed now.
yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Yep.
And there are a couple of, I believe, like 1 or 2 more bullet points in the fixes about this one. Anyway, fix tier 4 and meta extractors extracting exotics faster after reload or restart. If only I had known. Ensure that the blueprint extractor update mining rate from resource type correctly applies multiplier from ore deposit for extraction speed. This means extractors now always run at the correct rate after save or load. Apparently they, after a reload, they worked faster. Had I known, we could have mined more exotics in less time.
Yeah.
It would be almost like feels like cheating to do it that way, but
well, there's been many exploits before, so them patching them makes it a little bit more level playing field. So.
Yeah. So some balance tweaks to the crossbow audio to make sure the Icarus crossbow doesn't feel much louder than the standard crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
Similar crossbows are similar in sound.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fixing up passing world context to nodes for item stat calculations to make it easier to access item stats and information in Blueprint. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice to know. The next one as well. Converted interaction hold time to a variable.
Yep, coding stuff.
So apparently for some items the press and hold the interact button is now longer than for other items.
Yep, should be.
Okay. Anyway.
I think it is shorter for the lark bow, for example. So.
I'm more talking about like the press and hold F to access the water collector, rain collector.
Oh, got it. Makes sense as well.
And for the torches to put fuel in.
Yeah, it's okay.
Things like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Passing transient creature vocals through to canyon delay system. Adds a slapback delay to specific creature vocals in situations defined by terrain zone audio heat map. Some more changes to the audio system. Make it more realistic. Nice. Here's one important for you, Echo. You have been going up there to your dropship more than once. Fix a bug where leaving the prospect of your dropship would give you a grace period, then immediately remove all modifiers, including the grace period, within the same frame. This causes players to be vulnerable to damage while extracting and potentially lose their items. So if you go into your dropship to go up and at the last second someone throws a spear at you, kills you, it's basically a gamble whether or not you get up with all your stuff.
Yeah.
So next time I'll make sure there is no loot bag left behind, and if there is, I will take it all back up. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. ITM attachment mesh materials and textures added. 4 color variations for different attachment types.
FYI.
Yep. Update several deployables. Thermal component setting to better represent the assets and scale across all deployables nicely.
Thermal components like campfires, heaters and stuff. Braziers, maybe?
Maybe.
Also, if you look at one, and also the coolest, the Echo, if you look at the one below, additional plus minus 5 degrees added to the heater and cooler for tier 4 deployables.
Okay.
So, The tier 4 cooler can bring the temperature down by another 5%, whilst the heater can bring it up by an additional 5 degrees. 20 degrees.
Okay.
Good, because if you're in the Arctic during the night in a storm and you're sitting right in front of your heater and you're still freezing, then you need more heaters. Or
Yeah.
this additional 5 degrees.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I can test it in my outpost at some point, probably. Or
Yeah.
in an outpost. And actually, do it in the Olympus outpost, start it on hard mode, so you have more extreme weather events.
Yeah. Okay. Changed color of debug text when visualing thermal component affect from red to yellow and added drop shadow.
Debug text. Do we ever see debug text? I don't know, or maybe some text in the description or so, or in the pop-up is now change color. Well, we can check once we're in game. Let's see, selling the pickaxe and the axe impacts to canyon delays, give a more accurate representation of space when using these tools outdoors. Some more improvements to the audio system. Interesting, by the way, this one is listed. The last couple ones are listed under the fixes.
Okie dokie. Upgrade the dialogue system to give us more options for fine-tuning subtle timing, and added a few other improvements. Can override the display length of individual dialogue lines, can override the dialogue speakers per line, navatized some of the functions previously done in UMG dialogue into a subtitle queue manager, improved how the dialogue user interface system handles dialogue interruptions, added dev functions to make dialogue testing easier.
Yeah, you know, where the subtitles and the audio from what Saul is saying are out of sync.
Yes.
They're fixing it with these kind of things.
Okie dokie.
Fine-tuning the subtitle timing. They nativify some of the functions previously done in UMG dialogue into subtitle queue manager. Yeah, they're trying to get those more in sync.
Good.
And here's the other one. Extractors and drills don't currently stay activated. They fixed that. Was mentioned above already. Fix an issue with C++ compiler optimizations that only affects development builds, not release builds. So we didn't notice those. More subtitle, prototype of a system which would allow us to alter subtitle markers within FMOD dialogue event timelines, which could potentially be used in the future to fine-tune subtitle timing to audio. We have seen it before where the subtitles in audio weren't synchronous. So it's a good thing they're fixing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Fix instruction effects on the dry run blocking mesh. This one is a nice one. Fixed bug where in an inventory, if you right click and hit deploy on an item, it didn't auto close the inventory screen. It will now. Rotnob already mentioned this yesterday. So yeah, it's gonna be nice because now you right click deploy, you don't have to manually close your inventory screen. And half the time cancelling the place action in the process.
Alright.
Very good, I fixed that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Improve grass, allowing for billboards to appear better. Fix SMLOD distances so they do they swap out sooner to improve performance?
Thank you. Its performance improved. We like that.
Yep, we always like that. Fixing issue where deep mining ore deposits were not showing the correct highlightable on the clients. Nice.
Yeah.
Players connected as clients can now see the specific ore type in the world pop up.
Yeah, they
That was good because we
said
were
they
talking
fixed
about
it
that.
last
We
week.
were we were talking about that just yesterday.
So now
But
they properly fix it. Good.
good.
Fix adding cloud brighten up caves by reducing light dissipation on overcast for cave biome. What is the cave biome? Or for caves?
Cave
Clouds
biome.
brightening up caves. Usually it makes it darker.
Yeah.
They didn't do it later on. This is true. I don't think they really brightened it, but maybe caves will become darker again now during event event. Which is good. That's what we have torches for.
That's true. That's very true. Okay. Updated credits.
Okay.
Added Trace Studio and Entangled to UMG credits page.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
if you're in the game, you look at the credits and you can see who all worked on the game. They added Trace Studio and they added Entangled.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Hey, they worked on it, so they received a place in the credits.
Yeah.
This one, fixing issue where drinking to put out the fires would make players immune to fire. It causes a burning modifier to fail when attempting to set a player on fire. When this fails, the flammable instance would still be applied and never be removed due to the loss of linkage from the modifier. Adding fallback cases and preventing the flammable instance from being added in the first place if the modifier could not be applied. But remember the fireproof prospector?
Yes.
Were we fireproof because we had a canteen in our slot, in our suit?
Possible.
That's what I was thinking when I read this.
Same here. It makes sense because there was that phase where no matter what we did, we couldn't set ourselves on fire. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Except Giz. You could set Giz on fire.
True, but he did take out his armor. Maybe he also took out his canteen.
Yeah, we might have not gone down with it or something. You know, we can't remember all the details. So.
Yeah. Okay. The wet modifier gained after being submerged in water no longer makes you immune to fire, but now reduces the chance you will catch on fire.
Makes sense. You stand in a fireplace. If you're wet, the water will evaporate, and then you will still catch fire. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Okay, separating out wet and in-water gameplay tags.
Yeah, because if you're in the water, you can't catch on fire. I mean, that would be a tad odd.
Yeah, and adding the on fire gameplay tag. Okay, good. They added the toolbox mesh for melee attachments. It now has its own unique mesh rather than the same one as the modules.
So this is for the attachments benches. Okay.
Yeah. Cleared out cloud map variable on instance of atmosphere controller in Olympus, pointing to a texture which doesn't exist, causing a warning on startup.
Yeah, but this must be server side.
Yeah.
This warning.
Alrighty. Another alteration bench fix. They updated the bench and the advanced alteration bench descriptions to better communicate the multi-purpose nature of the benches. Updated alteration bench collision to be more accurate.
Okay. The collision. I didn't think the collision box of the alteration bench was inaccurate. We've placed a couple of them. And I never had the idea like, hey, the collision box is incorrect.
We've
Okay.
had the collision
Oh, well.
box being incorrect for the
Pot-bellied stove.
pot-bellied stove, but not the
Yeah.
alteration bench.
Exactly. Well, we'll see.
Okay. Fixed bad LOD settings on polar bear carcass, causing it to LOD too early.
We kind of try to avoid those guys, right?
We
So,
what?
yeah.
Sorry?
We kind of try to avoid those guys. So if there
Yeah.
was an issue with the cartridges,
Yeah,
we would hardly
wasn't
notice.
really. Yeah, it wasn't really something we kind of came across too often. So, but they
Yeah.
fixed it, so we
Yeah.
like it. Removed unobtainable can harvest polar bear trophy stat from polar bear trophy head item reward.
Did we ever get a polar bear head trophy? I think we
Yes.
tested it and we couldn't get one.
No, we've had polar bear trophies hanging on the wall.
Did we? Okay, I remember bears. Don't really recall polar bears, but okay.
No, we've definitely had polar bears. Definitely
Okay.
had polar bear heads.
Okay.
Removed the never used generic tree leaf item reward entry.
Well, if it's not used, I'm glad I removed it. It can only mean performance improvements. So, however
Yeah.
small, everything is welcome.
Yeah. The buff provided by drinking no longer grant. I think that's supposed to be no longer grants fire immunity. Players can still drink to remove the fire debuff. 3 modifiers are granted. 1 extinguishes the fire and lasts a second. 1 provides the cooling and lasts longer.
I think indeed no longer grants fire immunity. I mean, drinking doesn't really make you immune to fire.
No.
Still,
But
it said that it puts out a fire. Okay, you need to have some way to put out a fire. If you're on fire somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you need some way to put it out. So, yeah, make you
but
immune to fire. Yeah. So I'm good.
says,
I'm glad they removed it.
yeah, it says 3 modifiers are granted. 1 extinguishes the fire and lasts for a second. 1 provides the cooling and lasts longer.
And the third, I don't know. Well, the fire debuff modifier. Remove the fire debuff. I don't know.
Okay. Simplified gameplay tags for extinguishing fires. It now relies on 1 tag rather than 3 that it was based on. Okay. See above, I reckon.
Yeah.
Fixed an issue causing the seared mushroom on the campfire appearing as the mushroom soup in the pot-bellied stove.
We were talking about this before. Like you chuck a mushroom in the campfire and it magically turns into mushroom soup. Apparently it was supposed to be the seared mushrooms.
Yeah, but don't forget also that when you did actually make mushroom soup in the pot-bellied stove, the icon for it wasn't mushroom soup.
Yeah.
It was a seared mushroom.
Anyway, they fixed it, so good.
Okie dokie.
They deleted the unused version 1 revisions of the tier 3 and tier 4 alteration benches. They're too similar to be repurposed for something else. They updated the blueprints in Light to use the version 2 revisions of the tier 3 alteration bench. They recreated the merge version of the alteration bench tier 4 meshes without unwanted elements from blueprint. So basically cleaning up code, which is good.
Yep.
They delete the tier 4 destructible mesh containing unwanted elements. Fixed things there, they updated the T4 bench to use a new destructible mesh asset. So basically they updated and fixed a bit on the tier 3 and 4 alteration benches. Margaret, we're almost done with the fixes, like 2 more. And actually the next one we already talked about, both of them. And then we have some future content which we'll go through rather quickly. So don't worry, it won't take an hour.
Yeah, no, we're going as quick as we can, and we are deliberately, like lumping things together and skipping so that we don't take too long. Rod says only halfway.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, the last 2 bullet points we already talked about them above already. So yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move swiftly on to future content.
Yep. So fixed temperature and minimum usage on terrain 019. God, we're missing config and raw data. This is for future content.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, is there anything interesting here? Anything that jumps out or that's new? I did see a couple of new things though. Let's see. What do we have? Flavor replacements. Case template assets. Some like river replacements. Added new data table for mount related data. We're still working on the mounts. Reworked the blueprint mount base to support multiple mounts with data retrieved from the underscore mounts. Added control rig for MOA. So we'll be riding the Terrorbirds.
Say you're gonna have to speak a little bit slower. You're quite muffled.
Yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting I'm using the webcam microphone. So in this bullet point here, added new data table for mount related data. They also said added control rig for MOA. So we're gonna be riding the Terrorbirds. Nice. So we have the buffaloes where they talked about buffalo sales and stuff.
Yeah.
Now also added a control rig for MOA. Maybe pull a cart. Maybe you can ride them. I don't know. But would be interesting if you could indeed ride them.
Yeah.
And maybe carry less than if you ride on a buffalo. But hey, it should be faster.
Yeah, but we can link that to this one, can we not? Where they extended the mount system to support generic data table given action montages, separated out look at and LK rigs for mounts, added new control rig to drive procedural player riding animations when mounted.
Yeah, I was more looking at the added control rig for MOA part. That's new. Like last week's patch notes for the first time talked about the MOA, and now they also talk about the control rig for MOA.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. So we have icicle meshes, swamp and lava biomes.
Prototype meshes for geothermal pools. The first time those get mentioned.
Yes.
Geothermal pools. They are gonna be like sulfur pools, sulfur water. A couple of bullet points down. The instanced water sulfur pool material in the first pass on the geothermal pool 01. Yeah. Interesting. So this new resource sulfur will have to somehow mine from geothermal pools. So I would say maybe volcanic biome specific. Gonna be interesting if you have biome specific resources.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but my mind starts to wonder if then else. Gonna be interesting to see what I come up with in the Prometheus DLC.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we have now basically had it all. The rest is more like, something we have no reference for, so we can't really say much about.
Okay. So, does that... fixed issue with the upcoming high-rise mission area requirements for particular objectives.
True.
That's an interesting one. So we know there's a new mission coming up.
Yeah, but it was mentioned in earlier patch notes already as well, the high-rise mission.
Yeah.
High-rise mission.
Yeah.
That's why I
So
didn't mention it.
yeah. So now we're just getting a little bit more information on that, and I think we can call that done, really, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not only halfway through, but the last half is always the fastest half.
Yeah. 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 I'm looking forward to the dedicated servers. I'm really looking forward to testing these crossbows. So now I think all that remains is to load up the game, get into this new mission, and get going.
Yeah. Give me a couple of minutes for a quick nicotine stop. I don't have the wireless headset now, so yeah. So give me a couple of minutes for that, and then we can start the new mission.
Yeah, not a problem. How does... Well, I mean, I'm going to...
It is, by the way, a short mission, 2 hours. So we'll be able to complete it in one stream.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then do you want to look at 15 minutes for starting?
10 minutes? I'm fine with 10 minutes. I can smoke fast.
I can't, and I haven't had anything to eat either. So
Eating is overrated anyway.
I want to try and throw a sandwich down my throat.
Yeah, it's good. Throw carefully, huh? 15 minutes? No, not going to be 15. Echo needs to eat something, otherwise she'll topple over.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
I do need to eat. I've had absolutely nothing all day because it was just been too hot. But now I've sat down for an hour. My stomach is growling, so I do need to eat. So we will see you at 35, 45, 21:50 for me, which would be 22:50 for you.
Yeah. 10 to the hour, 15 minutes from now.
Yes, we will be back in 15 minutes. We will see you at 10 to the hour. Thank you very much all for joining us. Thank you to Rod and Mike and Ri-Fi. And we will see you all in 15 minutes. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Rightio. Well, that being the case, it's good night from me.
And good night from her.
And we will see you in the next one. Remember, it's a dangerous world out there. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you soon.